now I just want to flirt more. Like, it's interesting that like I don't do it when there's stakes,
Mm.
because I need to go through the like I need to get the like, are we flirting? What are our goals? Like I need to have that conversation of like, let's set some expectations, and then once I know what the hell is going on, then I can participate. Like, what are the rules of this game? Because everyone has a different rule set. Everyone has a different like pacing and agenda. Uh,
Would you
and
like to explore demonstrating flirtation for our audience?
yes, I might.
Uh,
So
Good
I
luck with
might just
Duolingo Play.
go red. I blush very easily. Um, you might see me like super flustered, which I think everyone will find quite.
Hmm.
Um, the like
So to get started with, we've initiated this flirtation by Beans laying out the space within which they would feel comfortable flirting, and me explicitly creating that space.
um, see now see I have this confidence when I'm outside of that space. I'm like, I can show you how, and then I get inside and I'm like, oh no, I'm this like flusterable, like um like very flighty creature. But I think there's kind of a laying bare in there that's very endearing. And so I lean into it, where I'm just like, oh no, someone's gonna say something at me. It's gonna be cute. You're gonna say something, it's gonna be cute, and I'm gonna get real confused about how I'm supposed to respond, but I'm gonna enjoy that confusion. Like,
And I feel
oh
like we're both demonstrating our flirtation
great.
strategies very clearly right now, because
Yeah.
your approach is just to be open about how flustered the flirtation makes you, and be honest with the fact that you are um, thrown off by the way you're feeling about the person you're talking to. And my approach is to smile charmingly and let the person ramble.
Which is very good. It like it means that we're both continuing to agree to be here. I can
Hmm.
continue like uh try and fill the space, because like, I'm clearly a nervous talker.
Yeah.
Uh Clearly.
And because of who I am as a person, our flirtation is explicitly meta about flirtation.
Yep. And there's a part of that that like makes the play even better, because there's like,
Hmm.
how many layers can we do this? uh I've also found that like, so this is a big, by the way, just for context for everyone watching, that when someone intentionally peels back those layers and doesn't let me evade, that I'm like, oh, okay, we're staying on topic here. I can't change the topic. Oh no. And then I get like the so there's this kind of like gentle pressure when someone's like, no, remember, we're flirting. We're not
Hmm.
talking, we're flirting. And I bring your attention back, bring your attention back. And then
Yeah.
like the fluster just gets continued until like there's, well, we were talking about genre. Tension gets to a point where you're like, this requires some kind of resolution.
Hmm.
What does that look like? Depends on the context of the flirt.
Hey, Beans, what kind of fabric do you like the feeling of on your skin?
Okay, pro tip: reflect things back at people. They'll tell you exactly how to get them. Like, people just reveal themselves to you, and TX has used this to their advantage. Um, See, this is
We're getting answers in the chat. Pickleball God says Kashmir, Plague on Humanity says fleece. Um,
see, there's like,
and if you haven't been with us for the entire live stream, when Beans got here and we started talking about flirting, she gave what kind of fabric do you like the feeling of on your skin as an example of a flirtatious question.
um, and that's, just to revisit why that's flirtatious. It's a more intimate question that would normally be appropriate, without that kind of agreement that we're playing here, and we're playing in a space where we're going to escalate the intimacy. So now I'm like, okay, well, the unsexiest answer that I could possibly answer is, well, I really like super scratchy wool, which is an answer. but it doesn't. It's not really playing into
Hmm.
playing.
Yeah.
Um,
What
so
kind of fabric do you like to play with?
this this may be off-putting to some people, but like there was this one time that I was at a birthday party, and I had this like fur collection, like vintage fur collection, and there was just we just laid it all on my bed and we're just rolling around in it. And my crush at the time came and was there with me, and I was like, everything is soft and you're very pretty, and um um like this the silk soft textures bring out softness. Like I'm more mm, more focused, less like in my own bubble.
Mhm.
Well, like flirting is supposed to be joyous.
If you're
Um,
not happy when you're flirting, stop flirting.
if you're not happy when you're flirting, you may be doing something else that's not actually flirting, um, which is fair. Uh, okay, so my other response was th- my salacious answer was like, oh, clearly that would be like my thistle inspired bodysuits, where I'm like creating a very specific visual cue. Um, like I just continue to spend time being in this fluster space because it's actually the thing that I can at least do consistently. And my brain gets very attached. I'm like, okay, at least like keep the conversation going. Because
Mhm.
the tension, as soon as I can't fill the void with sound, I'm like, oh no, the tension, the tension.
But if you would like some help resolving that tension, I can let you know that if you bounce the question back at me, I have an answer ready.
Okay, okay. What is your favorite fabric next to your skin?
I have a set of sheets that are like made of t-shirt fabric, um, that I just really love the feeling of on my skin. It's like in the summer when like just a sheet is enough of a blanket. Um, just sleeping with just like as though I am sleeping under a giant t-shirt is an absolutely lovely experience. And also the much sexier version of I am fine with this. Uh, because rather than saying, I like how this t shirt feels, uh, I talked about a context where I am feeling that fabric but naked.
Yeah, and similar to being like, here are garments that feel make me feel great when I'm in them, and they are very specific.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is so. This is great because earlier we had talked about we like in the history of our friendship we had like flirted with flirting, um, and so this is this like incredibly precious space where I'm like, I want to play here more. I want to play here more. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's fun. And being able to be in this kind of heart place with other people is what's creating that connection. Like, and I maybe everyone has their own like tone of feeling where they build that when it can sustain that kind of giddiness, playfulness, vulnerability, or even like for some people it's competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like flirting with competitive people is terrifying, but like super hot.
Yeah,
Like
so
when
much.
some
I am a very competitive person. Uh, and like if I like get into that track with somebody else who is extremely, it's so much fun. Particularly if we both make the same kind of art,
ooh,
just making art for each other, uh, and just like trying to one up each other.
oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Um, one of my favorite like kind of like flirty things to do with people that is like also just like a thing I do with friends. It's the same thing and like it's the same vibe, but it's just like a very intimate thing to do. Is it is write for them, like perform writing while they are watching.
Do you know Schitt's Creek, the show?
I have seen most of the first season.
Okay, so there is what is now a fairly iconic scene where David's boyfriend plays an acoustic cover of Tina Turner's "Simply the Best," and
Mhm.
like I just like crumple every time, every time I see that song, I see that rendition of that song, because it is exactly what you're talking about, where it's like there's something about a beautiful performance specifically for one person that just like now there is tunnel vision. There is no one else in the entire world. And for the entire duration of this, the recipient has to let themselves be focused on
Yeah,
in a way that they're not used to. And
and
it's
making
just like,
somebody feel like they're the only person in the world is a really good way to flirt.
yeah, uh, it is one of my favorite ways to just make people feel seen. And that is often a really actual great way of opening the door before even the like, hey, do you want to flirt with me conversation,
Mhm.
is just like being deeply and genuinely interested in what someone has to say, to the point that the world just fades away. Like you, the beauty of that is that there's no stakes. You're just in it, and you can be in
Mhm.
it as long as you want together. And the longer you stay there, the closer that moment becomes, especially if particularly if it's a back and forth exchange. So like if you've ever had one of those moments, I'm where uh, you just like stay up late till like 3 a.m. talking to someone, and you just lose track of time. If you
Mhm.
didn't, it's
So one of the
it,
ways that I have flirted with people in the past, that I talked about earlier on the stream before you were here, is through the lens of my witchcraft. Because one of my practices is candles. I use candles to work with time. Um, the idea is you light the candle and you make an agreement with time. The agreement is time agrees to move um, slowly and steadily in a really like straightforward and comprehensible way while you are um, while you have the candle lit.
mhm.
And your end of the bargain is whatever you lit the candle for has your undivided attention. And the very flirty way to do this is to explain my witchcraft to someone after lighting a candle to tell them that I'm going to focus on the conversation.
Oh, oh no, it's happening. It's happening.
It went out.
Mm. Laugh that heck that high cackle was very necessary. My body needed just like ah. Oh, it's lit now. Um,
Yeah. I'm going to need you to handle the money plugs because my attention's on you right now.
this is I'm gonna have to multitask while also being like I think being flirted with is a really um like receiving it is just so intense to because like how often do I get to be the center of someone's attention like in
Hmm.
this um and like to the meta element of it too, as performance, like this gets to be seen, this gets to be uh like there's something about it being a public action that is even another escalation on top of that. That I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit here and I don't know what to do, but I'm gonna keep sitting here because I want to be here in this
Hmm.
game. I want to be here playing. And I think even not knowing the clever things to say, simply staying in the game continues to develop it.
Hmm.
Like I'm like, oh, I can figure out all these clever, one-liners. Like I'm sure I can come up with more one-liners, but like they're not actually what develops this closeness. Like it is absolutely that focusing, it is that staying in that focusing, and it is that receiving of that. Like I am receiving the, like I'm super excited for like our friendship debrief after this, being like, well, that was wild.
Hmm.
Because like we get to take out of this the deepened intimacy of performing this together. um and that, regardless of stakes or agenda, gets to continue to be true, which I think is really like, when you initially set this all up and you were like, hey, you said the parameters, let's do it. Because I had basically laid out, this is the shape of the box that I flirt in. And you're
Hmm.
like, okay. I was like, oh, I didn't realize I did that. I'm like, oh, well, I got what I wanted. Now what am I gonna do? And when I admit that I don't have a clever line, I don't have the answers, I'm just buffooning my way through it. For me to feel seen is actually letting all of that cleverness and that hubris and that ego go and just be like, okay, well, all of you are seeing how awkward I am now, but like TX is making this really, really cute smile, and that's going to keep me very motivated to like stay in this. And that candle, like I can see that candle, like I'm focusing here, but like it's in the corner of my eye because the screen is small. I'm like, oh, that candle's still burning. Candle's still burning. It's a it's a kind of I don't know, it's an agreement. And
Hmm.
every further moment of it, like I don't I don't think we're doing it explicitly because there's a lot of, we have an implied safety of I can opt out anytime.
Hmm.
I know because of our friendship, because I know who you are as a person, that I can opt out at any time. But you have set up this these stakes of, I'm now adding something, when you are now adding something that matters to you,
Hmm.
like by adding your witchcraft practice into this game that we're playing. You're like, this actually is real and meaningful, and now we're doing a real and meaningful thing within a performative game. Like this this is one of the things that I admire about you, actually, is the fact that like you very, very rarely do something that only has one element. So it means that every single interaction that I get to have with you gets to be this like discovery of all the other elements that are present that I don't necessarily know about until it starts to like, until my perception of it starts to broaden. And so every time I get to interact with you, it's like that. And it's like such a treat. So to have this not just nebulous, but very focused on me, means that I get to enjoy like some of my favorite aspects of you. And I'm just like, okay, now that I got what I wanted, what do I do?
Well, I
Um,
have two responses to that. One, I do love praise. And two, you're doing almost all of the talking here. And I like that me just being here and listening to you feels good to you.
I haven't gotten to spend this kind of time with you. I mean, and specifically like where we just get to sit down and have a talk that's not about things happening around us.
Hmm.
Like how often do we get to do that?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, so it's like a real treat. But if you like praise, oh boy, oh boy, I love giving a good compliment. So like, let me dig in here. I think it's really incredible how you're able to create conversations that serve multiple purposes simultaneously while also opening doors for other people to create their own interpretations and utilization of the dialogues that you're creating. And like, I know you, none of that is by accident. That is all on purpose. It is by design every single time. Like, maybe some of it gets added on just because you can't control every factor. You try and control every factor. You want to design every single element, but you are human. You are human. I know. How dare I?
I
How
concede
dare?
the point.
What's that?
I concede the point.
But yeah, so it's like I love a puzzle box. So it's like this beautiful piece of art every time that like you have to like, okay, where's the key? And then you get to like discover all the pieces until like you get to the little treasure that was the reason why this whole puzzle box was made. And like,
The friends we made along the way.
yeah, the process of seeing you by seeing these elements that you have put in and not necessarily even expecting everyone to see, but you've put all these pieces in there because you want to design every piece to be exactly what you mean. And so I feel like I get to see you in those pieces. So now whenever I see like one of your videos, I get this extra personal thing where I'm like, oh, what's on your mind day to day, that this is what you're expressing, that this is how you're expressing it, this is when you're expressing it. And like guessing about, okay, well, what's important to you right now. And like I very much look forward to stitching your video about flirting and trying to do that just a little bit, like very hyper talk.
I'm so excited for that.
But it's going to be interesting because like I feel like there was this point where we were like, maybe I made this up tell me if I made this up in my head. I'm about to make a fool of myself if I did. Did we ever talk about whether or not we had crushes on each other? Did we ever have an actual conversation about that?
No, I don't think we did.
Oh, okay. Then that's a thing that I made up. That's a thing that I thought happened, or that I thought enough about that I was like, oh, yeah, that's real. Okay, let me tell you about this entire imagined conversation that I had with you. It was very practical and pragmatic, where both of us were like, well, what's the effort required here and the outcome, and like, what are the pieces? Like, we both go and just like analyze this in depth and just have a very logistical conversation and being like, okay, so what's the best outcome? Like, what's our best arrangement here? Of like, oh, let's care a lot about each other and respect the fact that like our lives are fairly unoverlapped right now, but that's okay. But that doesn't diminish from how much we care about each other. Like, this entire conversation happened with you in my head, TX.
Yeah, that never happened. I don't
Well,
particularly disagree with imaginary TX in this conversation.
I think like I think I had a really good sense of who I was talking to. I'd like to think so. Yeah, and I really you like a parfait. You got layers. Okay, I am doing a lot of talking, and I am going to drink water because I also did a very long live last night.
Ambient Artisan says, might have been a dream that happens to me.
TX is pretty dreamy.
I've been practicing.
I actually think it's funny how like a line like TX is pretty dreamy. Like it's a very vanilla flirt as far as flirts go. And it actually fell flat as I said it. I was like, wow, that's like my worst one yet.
I think it worked really well. I felt like there were a lot of layers there.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that that was how it was perceived, because I was like, that's the craftsmanship in that was not my best. So maybe it was the
I don't know how much a
subconscious.
chat would get it. I have friends. There are a handful of people. If Cecilia were in chat right now, um, she would be like rolling her eyes, knowing exactly how much I liked hearing that on like several levels.
I'm just taking notes. Oh, it would be fun to just like, okay, is this cute and fun, or is this bonkers? To just like every time like you learn another one of these little things, or sorry, I'm gonna use the like actual situational pronouns representative. Every time I learn another one of these things, I just write it down in my little book of TX. I'm just like, ooh, this made TX smile, and this made TX smile, this made TX smile. I'm like, haha, I'm uncovering more pieces, because then I get to use them to make you blush as revenge, because that's where the competitiveness comes out. I know that I fluster easily. There's a part of me that's like, I will make you pay. I will make you pay.
I am eager for the challenge.
What am I getting myself into? I'm so excited. myself into.
Yes, that would be bonkers. I would love it. Please do that.
Okay. I was signing into Notion earlier today to make a Gantt chart for something, and
Mhm.
it just immediately logged me into the few shared notions that I have with you, like the microscope one that we have, and there was one that also had like measurements, which I unsubscribed from for some reason. But there was one with measurements, and I was like, did I ask for this from you like years ago? Back when I was like, I'll sew you something. Like I can't remember.
You may have. I saw that you had unsubscribed from it. I got that email. The
It
page
was.
was called Corporeality, and it's just information about my physical form.
I was just trying.
I think I may have shared that with you, explicitly on speculation that you might someday want to know things about the shape of my body for some reason.
Oh my god!
Um,
Phrase that. Continue. Carry on.
like if you just decided you wanted to make me some clothes or a ring or anything you'd need any of my sizes for. I think I remember us having this conversation and there wasn't a specific plan for a thing, but it we had agreed that that was a thing that I would be cool with you doing. And so I shared the information necessary to do it.
I'm just, hold on. I just need to scheme for a second. There's an idea almost forming that I'm not going to tell you about, but I just need to let it finish. So I'm just going to let you sit there for a second while I finish this thought.
For the benefit of chat, if you didn't catch it and if Beans didn't catch it at the time, that was flirting to explicitly invite one of my friends to think about my body a lot.
I did catch it. I definitely catch it. Was like, oh yeah, that it's on par with like t-shirt sheets and favorite fabrics. Um, uh, oh, another one is like inviting someone to share. No, I'm not going to abstract this. I'm going to like actually participate, because I'm trying to evade. So my version of this is like floating in the ocean with my ears covered by the water, and everything just goes away, and I'm just there, and it's simple and perfect, like, and peaceful. It's like true peace. Like, what, if anything, creates that for you?
I mean, the easy answer is mushrooms.
Hey, we support responsible use of drugs in this house.
Mm,
Spectrums. TX, let's do mushrooms together someday. I'm gonna come around your neck of the woods one of these days.
100%, absolutely.
Awesome. Great. It's a date. It doesn't have to be a date.
I
But
didn't say no.
Yes. But what I want is like, here's the secret knowledge I'm seeking. What scenarios would I craft that would bring you, like, you know, watching the sunset over Grand Canyon, in your most favorite nook, reading your most favorite book? Like, where are you, like, really at peace, and this is going to sound corny, but like feeling like you're part of the world?
Public flirtation by candlelight on a TikTok live.
Dare you? How dare you? That's very good.
You're nailing it, babe.
I did say I was good at flirting, even though I'm awkward the whole time. I know. I really, like, I got a lot of points in endearing. I just I was like checking the candle. I'm like, oh, how are we doing for the candle?
The candles last for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh. Well, I got no plans. I was gonna do a live of my own for completely separate things. The flirting games. May the odds be ever in your favor. Only rule, no touching. Honestly, okay, so here's a wonderful flirting game that I think would be great on mushrooms. It's a beautiful, like, this art unfortunately does not follow Arjit's rule, but it's, you can only touch someone's hands, and there's like stop, go, or then like a variation,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just touching someone's hands, and then at some point it's reciprocated, and there's
Yeah.
like, it's just this very simple, but similarly to focusing on someone and what they're saying so attentively that the world just narrows to just two people. Like, this is, I would say, a very physical expression of that, because like our
Mm-hmm.
hands are full of nerves. There's like so much sensation here. Our brains are just like want to be consumed by the sensations happening on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good way to take a verbal flirtation and say, like, hey, uh, where is our safe and comfortable place in terms of physical contact, and
Mm-hmm.
finding that can be really fraught sometimes. But when I was in that game, I thought that that was very, it's just a good, it's a good game. It's a good game, and people should play it more. We should play that game if you want.
Yeah, I'm down. Melly says, I feel like I should be looking away and taking off my headphones. Don't worry, if we feel the need to fade to black, we will just end the live stream.
Yeah. uh I was saying earlier, one of the reasons why this works is that, like, I know TX well enough that if at any point, and TX knows me well enough, if at any point either of us just need to tag out, um, that's there too. that was part of the initial agreement. It was part of the design that we've put together, that we're still abiding by, but we're just like, that's an option that we're just haven't needed to use.
This is the most important thing about flirting to my mind, is that every moment of it should be creating the space for every participant to say, I can walk away right now and I'm choosing not to.
Yep.
It should always feel safe, easy, and comfortable to end the flirtation so that you never have to worry about the people you're flirting with staying in the space because they're afraid of you rather than because they want to be there.
I think I would have chickened out by now if this had been in person and not over a digital format, because there's more like the psychological and the physical closeness like are at a slower progression.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you're in space with someone, you're like, how am I supposed to physically interact with you? Like, how big is your bubble? How big is my bubble? Do we want our bubbles to overlap? Like, those questions don't need to be answered right now. And that allows me to think about, like, how far is that candle burn? Like, how, okay, like, preparing myself to, like, I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to stay in this. I don't have to worry about navigating some other elements, which is perhaps why I love digital flirting, because it gives me simplicity to
Mm-hmm.
have the intensity that it can be without it being like, what what are all these unknowns I have to navigate? But I think that's one of my criteria. Is one of the reasons why I like you and admire you as a person is that if we were in person, if this conversation was happening on a stage in front of people, I could still articulate why those are important to me and why I need that sense of distance, and it would still be there. It would still
Mm-hmm.
be available. And like, I know that, like, this game is a safe place to play because we are constantly able to redesign the rules if need be. Which, like, oh, here's a fun thing that just happened. When we initially started this, and I want to hear how your experience has been across this arc. When we initially started this, I like immediately hit fluster, adrenaline hit,
Mm-hmm.
like endorphins, adrenaline. My manner was very different, and now that initial adrenaline has actually dropped off. I'm like, oh, this experience is very different for me now. I have to recalibrate for it because it's a different type of conversation. It's a different flavor of flirting because it's not fueled by this, I don't know, not fueled by adrenaline or like by,
Surprise?
yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
it did a little bit catch me off guard. I was like, oh wait, wait, what do we do? What is this happening? Oh. But yeah, what has your experience been, from like from considering inciting this game and across the arc of playing, and like your various bids and escalations? Even though I have been doing a lot of talking, you've been um, an active participant at the same time.
I mean, I was consciously foreshadowing the candle when I first brought it up earlier.
There's a reason why you're better at pulling lore out of books than me. Like, I have a big like, I'm embracing this, but like I have more bimbo energy than I realized, and I'm just like being okay with it. Or I'm just like, I'm just oblivious a lot of the time. I'm like, yeah, that is fascinating. That's like, that's a really interesting thing to learn about you, and I'm grateful to have learned it. And now, now it's being applied. Oh,
Yeah, no, I
that's
was pretty sure this was where this stream was going the first time you asked me the t-shirt or the fabric question.
oh, I'm trying to think if I was aware of that at that point. TX is always playing chess. We're playing checkers. That is beautifully phrased. Oh, thank you, Melly. Um,
This is what I do
if,
for a living. Make content on
TX
the internet, not fluster
flirt.
beans. Um, and if you want to help me keep being able to do this, you can help me out at venmo.com/txwatson, paypal.me/txwatson, and cash.app/$TXWatson. I am $69 away from making my goal tonight. And at the moment, I'm not super worried about it because I'm more focused on beans. But if you want to help me pay my bills and meet my financial obligations, you can do so at any of those sites. You can also help me in an ongoing way at patreon.com/txwatson.
I see you've got your nighttime radio voice on now.
Oh, I've been drifting in this direction for a while.
You've been what?
Drifting in this direction for a while.
May I suggest to all of you currently setting yourselves up to send TX money to send no more than $68, because if you send all of it, then TX will go to bed and this really fun time will end earlier. So just $68, and then like we'll send that last dollar later.
Tell you what,
TX.
if you beat the goal by more than $50, then we shift to Discord rather than ending the night.
I did not expect my day to go this way. Better make it a cool 420. Yep. I feel like there's a part of me, the very performance oriented part, and that performance oriented part is it's very good at dodging things. Where I'm like, I want to figure out a way to invite people to participate in this through Venmo and Cash App. And I'm like, but then I realized, I'm like, am I just dodging?
I mean, the question is, to what extent are we prioritizing this as my job? And to what extent are we prioritizing this as about you? And that's entirely in your hands because I'm here for you.
Y'all, how am I supposed to deal with this? Because like, here we go. Flirting can be laying cards on the table. Like if you had told like 2 years ago me that I would be sitting here having this conversation with you, I would have lost my goddamn mind. Like what? Sorry, what? It's quite a delight. And there's also this part of me that's like knows that as soon as I chill the fuck out, that I can actually flirt even more. But I'm just busy being like still a little flustered.
The flustered is cute.
I am adorable, aren't I?
You really are.
Yeah. It does a lot of heavy lifting. Because like I know that we could flirt like tiers above this in terms of like complexity and TX. Can we discuss what was that game that you invented a few months ago?
The slow burn relationship game?
The slow burn game. I want to look at the slow burn game in the context of this activity, or look at this activity in the context of the slow burn game. I don't know if everyone knows, but I think it's relevant. I'm gonna get my notebook out too. I'm taking notes now because we're giant nerds.
Oh no, this is a fresh notebook. Starting
no.
with number 1, you want to play the slow burn relationship game with me.
Oh no.
So you're down 1 point.
Did I just lose a point?
Yep.
Damn it. Would you do both me and the rest of chat a small favor and explain the mechanism of this game? Because that was a bid to raise the stakes, and then TX was like, done. New book. It's a new notebook. I don't even know if I have a new notebook. Have one? I'm gonna go look for a new. I'm gonna be up here.
The slow burn relationship game is a game I proposed on Tumblr, in which 2 people who miss having like slow burn interactions with people where relationships build over a long period of time and uncertainty, but who are mature enough to tell other people how they feel, and so keep winding up having their relationships collapse into actually happening. The game is to help people like that get to experience a slow burn thing. And the way that it works is 2 people agree to play the game. They start with 100 points each and are responsible for keeping track of each other's points. Whenever either of them makes an undeniable gesture of attraction or love to the other, publicly, privately, to themselves in a manner that leaves evidence, that person loses a point. And the other player is responsible for documenting not only that the point was lost, but how it was lost. Once one player has lost 100 points, that player loses. It is up to the participants whether to do something else with their relationship from there, or keep going until both people have 100 examples of how the other one loves them in a book.
So I think that I'm currently winning. I mean, we're clearly both winning, but I have three separate points to mark down for you.
Oh?
One is immediately, as soon as I explained the parameters upon which I felt comfortable flirting, you were like, let's do that.
Do you want me to make the case that these are plausibly deniable?
How about I lay out my points to you first, and you can knock them down as you want to.
Go for it.
And I'm more than happy to cut that rebuttal down if I see fit. So 1, inciting this game, because I don't think in general, because I feel like you were aware enough, like where this might go, that like it wasn't incidental. You're like, oh, this may get very interesting, and you're like, let's do that on purpose. Let's get very interesting on purpose. So 1. Mm-hmm. 2. 2 is the candle. Like, I don't think you can get out of that one. You made a very specific example of how you can make me feel important and cared for and centered. And then you, at your earliest opportunity, did so. Like, as soon as it fit into the dialogue, you're like, boom, We're doing that.
That's
And
two.
that's two. And the third one was starting a brand new book. Like, this could be, you could have a dedicated notebook for this process that collects all of these experiences. Like, I would not presume that any one person would have any one slow burn, but like, there's something about a fresh notebook and being the reason for the theme and first entry of a fresh notebook that's like, that's permanent. That's permanent. You've written in that notebook now, and that, like, and it was my point. You did that.
I can refute all of those. The point of this live stream is to demonstrate flirting. I could be doing all of this because it's a good illustration of my point.
You agreed with me earlier when I said that you don't do anything for one singular purpose. You don't do anything that has one singular element. So, like, all of the aspects of how you're putting your time into this, all of them are on purpose, and you care about all of them. So that can be simultaneously true with what I'm saying.
I'm very impressed. Would you like to know where I thought that was going?
Yes.
I expected you to concede that, and then I was going to offer you why I think you should still get a point.
I don't need free points from you.
And it's because it would be an evil thing to do to intentionally mislead you about how I feel to prove a point to my audience.
That would be nasty. Yes.
And I would like to believe that you think I wouldn't do that. I would also like to believe my audience wouldn't think I'd do that. So it's not plausibly deniable in a way that I'm comfortable with. I was going to say that that would count for 1 point. But your answer is better, so you get all 3.
Remember how I promised revenge earlier?
Yeah.
It came much earlier than I expected. So you sit with that while I write this down.
I mean, Argit, it's not checkmate. I'm still 97 points away from losing.
Yeah, because that my disagreement with your refutation kind of covers all of them.
Yeah, it was a really strong refutation. You nailed it. You're entirely correct.
I'd like to think that I know you at least a little bit, and that's why I like you as much as I do, because I have gotten to know you and admire you and think that these things about you are delightful. Like, they mean that interaction with you is just like every interaction with you is a treat. Like, even the most mundane of the ones, like, just always. Anytime your name comes across anywhere in my life, I'm just like, oh yeah, TX, yay. I'm just glad that you exist. It's just great that you exist. I'm glad I live in this timeline where you're here.
I had thoughts about preferable timelines. How bad does the other one have to be that this is preferable just because I'm here?
Just take the compliment, TX, okay? Don't I'm not as nuanced as you are. The alternate timeline in this is one where I don't get to know you for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
glad I'm in the timeline where I do.
Me too.
And that's just like worth being happy about. 6 seasons in a movie. What? Uh, Sorry, I got distracted by chat, which I realized like not nearly as fun as paying attention to you.
Sorry, chat.
Sorry. We were doing a thing and then we decided we were going to do a whole new thing, but you get to watch. This is fun. This like, so when I was talking about how like we could escalate the tiers of how we flirt, like what I mean is debating points. Like that's just like one thing where it's like, no, I'm going to point out to you just how much I've like made an effort to understand who you are and how important understanding who you are is to me. That like I get to be confident about some assumptions that I'm making about you. I'm like, sorry, you're full of nuance. That's just true, and I'm right. You're full of nuance and layers, and everything you do is multifaceted and generally considered. And even if you don't consider it, it comes from like a general existence of being considered and being thoughtful. So like even if you're impulsive, it's probably still within the realm of that kind of thing. Like
that's a really good point. Thank you.
God damn it. Yeah, it's great. It's great getting to see someone and enjoy that. I'll put this here for a minute. Arjun, how are you losing the game? Can you explain that to me further?
I think just because this is very meta.
It's all so meta. It's great. And like I feel like this is actually like to a degree delightfully necessary. Like like why do we bother with like just the mundane? Which is not to say the mundane isn't beautiful and rich and wonderful, but like we are playing a game here, and the more pieces, like we're like, let's play checkers, and then suddenly we're playing chess, as was said earlier. Like, nah, it looked like checkers, but everything has different movements, and that's just, I think, every interaction with you.
I have one last thing that I'd like to bring up in this live stream, which is that I have been thinking lately about drop, the experience of like the sudden sense of sadness that can follow very intimate experiences with people. One of the ways that I've been trying to help mitigate that in my partners and myself is after I unexpectedly have a very intimate interaction with someone, I am trying to make specific plans to have a call the next day, just to check in, make sure we're both feeling okay. And I would like to do that. Okay. I would like to do that a little bit more privately. So I would love to jump over to a Discord call. Sure. Last call, I am $69 away from making my bills tonight. I'm not going to ask again because I'm about to end the stream. But if you want to help me keep on track for making my financial goals this month, I do need to make $170 every time I stream for the rest of the month. I would really appreciate your help at venmo.com/txwatson, paypal.me/txwatson, or cash.app/txwatson. And now, if you want something to speculate about, um, decide in your head whether I still look at beans like this after nobody else is watching. Good night, everybody.
Bye.